Hey Explorers, I'm Justine.
And I'm Estrella, your social agent navigators, here to guide you through the crazy world of social media in real estate.
In today's episode, we are going to demystify the hairy, scary algorithm. One small disclaimer, this changes constantly, as we all know, but we try to keep this high level. So these tips are pretty consistent, even if there's some changes.
Yes. Yeah, it's like chasing the leprechaun at the end of
Yes.
a rainbow.
Never ends.
No.
Seriously.
Yeah. First off, if you don't know what the algorithm is, let's talk a little bit about what is the algorithm? How does this thing work? The Instagram algorithm is basically a set of rules that rank content on the platform. It decides what content's going to show up, in what order it's going to show up for all of the Instagram users' feeds, the Explore page, or even like your Reels feed. The main purpose of the Instagram algorithm is to make each user's experience with the platform fun so that you stay in the app. That is the main purpose of why they constantly change the algorithm to understand users' behaviors so they keep people in the app as long as possible. The longer they're in there, the more people pay for ads, the more they can charge for ads. How exactly does this all work? Well, the three most important ranking factors for the Instagram algorithm are relationship between the creator and the viewer, interest. Does this user typically interact with this type of content? If you are always interacting with the funny cat videos, you're probably going to see more funny cat videos. If you are interacting with the funny cat videos, you're probably not going to see tips on how to invest in Bitcoin, right? Like it just
What
doesn't make
do
sense.
what do we mean when we're talking about interacting? Because I always feel like that's interesting too,
Mm.
because interacting itself can mean a lot of things.
Yeah, the way that these applications, they have become more advanced in their technology with machine learning and artificial intelligence. What they look at are a multitude of things. First off, they're looking at how long that, if it's a static image, is sitting on your screen that you're looking
Stop
at
the
it.
scroll, right?
Yes. So did you scroll past that quickly? They even notice if you scrolled past but then went back. So the length of time that you're looking at something or video. They will also know if you paused or took a screenshot. They also know if you like, share, comment, all of those normal, like I would say traditional interactions with
Or
the
save.
application. Yeah, if you save it, any one of those things. But what's become more advanced and almost scary, and they've recently made this change. They took it away, but it was there for a while. Both Facebook and Instagram had the ability to track your retina eye movement on the screen. And that is crazy scary. Once that came out, they made some changes and they've pulled it
Didn't
back.
they say that they weren't really using it though? Like it had the ability, they said they weren't using it. I know in my state then that's when they like took off that facial recognition stuff. Like
Mhm.
you and I were so upset. We're like, give our
Yeah,
filters
I
back. We
know.
don't care if it recognizes our,
Yeah,
that's the
yeah,
same thing, right?
it is. What it does is it recognizes your facial expressions. So are you smiling? It
I didn't
also
know that.
recognizes where your eye's moving. So
Whew.
it tracks your eyeball, right? So the darker part, your what is that, the iris?
Mhm.
It tracks how it's moving around your screen. It's
Did we figure out if they were actually doing this? Did they like admit to that or were they just saying because it had the capability? I thought it was like because it had the capability, it was just like illegal in some states.
it's actually not fully illegal in California. It's part of data privacy legislation. And
Your
they,
wheelhouse.
yeah, they did not admit, but they also did not deny. Their
Ooh.
response was this technology is available and was enabled. In California, if a user requested access to their information as a California resident, you could find that out. In any other state, if you are a resident of any other state, you won't know if they actually tracked it. Because Facebook has the technology and the skill set and the resources available, I think, my opinion, so this is just pure opinion, that they have the ability to parse out a California user versus anywhere else in the state, whereas most companies don't.
Oh,
And
I'm sure.
so they are probably doing it for every other state but California right now.
Well, you just blew my mind. I thought I understood that whole thing, and you just, like, brought it to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
I I I knew it was crazy, but not that crazy.
Yeah, I know. It's insane. It's totally Big Brother. And that is why when I was in corporate, I loved working in data privacy because of all of those pieces and helping companies to be ethical and do these things. So one of the pieces in a lot of that legislation is meaningful use, like, or meaningful purpose. You have to have a valid business case or reason for collecting that information. You can't just collect information for the sake of collecting information. And that is where the legislation is changing quite a bit.
Mm.
So it's interesting, but I almost believe that Facebook and Instagram, Meta, is still doing that in every state but California.
Oh, yeah. Their ability to do what they do with AI and our government's ability to understand what they're doing and regulate it, whew,
Hmm.
not even close.
Nope. No, our
It's like,
laws are so behind.
well, even if you just think of the generations, this is totally, I'm sorry, I'm way sidetracked. You just really blew my mind.
That's okay.
But even if you're talking about like the generation of who runs legislation
Yeah.
right now, or like, even if you see what's happening with TikTok,
Yeah.
it's like they're trying to ban certain things and other, like, they don't really know what all the Mark Zuckerberg is doing. He's so
No,
far beyond in the data that he's able to capture before we ever realize what we need to regulate. We have such a far distance to go.
it's so much bigger than social media too. People don't
Yes.
realize.
Oh, yeah.
It's insane. Okay, so back to our topic for
Back
no,
to
I love
reality.
this. No, I love this.
Yes.
So
Future episode.
yeah,
Justine and
100%
Estrella's conspiracy theories.
conspiracy theories about all
Yes.
this. Yeah.
Data.
Exactly.
Uh,
Yeah, so they really care about like the interaction and is the user engaging with that type of content. The other thing they look at is relevancy. Instagram decides how relevant each piece of content is. So this includes an analysis of where it fits into things like trending topics. If we were in an election year, they'll look at election stuff. Here in Colorado, a big topic is the assessor's office assessed a lot of people's properties. They've gone up like 40, 50, some of them $80,000. It's a big topic right now. And timeliness, how recent is this information? Is this post a post that's from 5 years ago, or is this a post that is current and relevant? So all of those things are really important in the Instagram algorithm and how it all works.
so much stuff to think about.
Hmm.
We're going to try to break it down for you a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. So for the Instagram feed, for the user's feed, the Instagram algorithm sorts through the content of the accounts that they follow. It predicts how likely they are to interact with a post based on some of the following criteria. So, information about the post, how many likes did a post get? When was it posted? Has it been tagged with a location, maybe a location that that user happens to be near or
Hmm.
frequents? If it's a video, how long is it? Does that particular user usually only watch 20-second videos, or do they like to watch 1-minute videos?
Hmm.
How many likes did it get? Again, when was it posted? Again, has it been tagged with a location? It also looks at the user's activity across the platform, the quantity and content of posts that they have interacted with, gives Instagram a clue as to what kind of other posts they might be interested in seeing. So I feel like it's kind of at Instagram has a million categories and subcategories
Mhm.
and math as to what you've clicked on and for how long. And then it's taking all that into consideration in warp speed when
Yeah,
it decides to show you if you should see something.
it is insane.
It really is.
The algorithm on Instagram stories, a lot of it's gonna be very similar, very, very similar to the feed, and that it uses a lot of those ranking signals to decide what it's going to show first. This is why when you go into Instagram and you're watching stories, it isn't always posted in the order or recency of a person's story. For example, Justine posts a story, I post a story, and I post it after Justine. So her stuff is older than mine. You would think that my stuff would show up first, but if you engage with Justine's content more than you engage with my content, you will see her story first.
So this is why Estrella is like always the first story, and Sarah, like literally every day, like hi Sarah and Estrella. I always know what Sarah's wearing, and
Yeah.
I always know what the heck you're doing. You
Yep.
guys are always like the first two people in my stories, so that makes sense now.
Yeah, yeah, because we engage more frequently on
Yes.
the app.
Okay.
The other thing that it's going to look at is information about the story. There's some really cool things that I think people don't realize make a difference in the algorithm when you're posting a story. Obviously, we already talked about what time of day or when something is posted. They also look at stickers. So when you go in and add all of those stickers, if you're posting something about a trending topic or something that's relevant in time or history, like it was Cinco de Mayo recently, and if you were posting stuff about that and people were searching for Cinco de Mayo, they might come across your story. But it also looks at the music that you tie to it and the engagement. This is a great place to get engagement. So polls, questions, the little smiley face, the meter moving back and forth, all of those things, even a link. This is a great place to post a link. This is one of the best place to post an external link for engagement.
Your location, that's a
Mhm.
sticker as well,
Yes.
right?
Location, time, all those things. You can take people, so you can show up in someone else's audience, all of those things. Really, really cool ways to play with the algorithms so that your information shows up more. It also looks at the information about the person who posted it, right? As a real estate agent, when I'm posting information, Instagram knows how often my people interact with my stories, and they use those metrics to determine, how often or where they want to put it on the feed. It also looks at activity across the platform. So I might not always watch someone's stories, but if I recently was going through the feed and I engaged with somebody in the feed or in Explore and I liked something or I commented on a post.
If you were looking for a vacuum cleaner.
Exactly. And this is why you'll start to see weird things when you're online, right? Now, because I've done that, or even searched for vacuum cleaner in the Explore page, I am now going to be presented with people that I follow's user stories that talk about vacuum cleaners, even if I haven't engaged with their story recently, and vice versa. So if somebody is engaging and asking a question on one of my posts, I'm probably going to see their stories sooner as well. It's really fascinating how the algorithm works with stories.
I feel like it's why us real estate agents have such horrible shiny object syndrome, because if
Mhm.
we ever stop on like, hey, do this to get leads, or hey, this coaching program, if we've ever like stopped the scroll, which we do because we're real estate
Mhm.
agents and we want to know how to do better, it's going to keep on feeding us those shiny objects
Mhm. It's
that we can't
insane.
stop trying or whatever.
Yeah.
Instagram Reels. Okay. Unlike many of the other areas of Instagram, this is a little bit easier to be discovered in this section. Things that they're looking at is the user's activity. Signals like which reels they've liked, commented on, and engaged with all help Instagram understand what kind of content could be the most relevant to that user. Their history of interacting with the person who posted that reel, so usually that's us, right? Like,
Mhm.
have they interacted with us before? Is that user going to be shown your reel? With Reels, much like the Explore page or the search page, the user is likely to be served up video content from creators they haven't heard of. So, like we were saying, this is why you're more likely to be found by people who haven't seen you before. But if they have interacted with you in some way previously, Instagram is still going to take that into consideration and still more likely to show that user that your videos are the same ones that they've interacted with before. That is probably why when you're on Instagram, you're going to notice a lot of content from creators you know of, but maybe haven't pulled the trigger on following yet.
Hmm.
They're also going to look at information about the reel. The Instagram algorithm tries to guess what the video is about based on the captions, the audio track, and it considers the video's overall popularity. So these are things that I know Estelle and I have talked about in
Mhm.
some of our other tutorials and stuff that you don't realize, like literally what you're saying, the captions on your thing, like Instagram is taking this all into consideration. It's also taking into consideration information about the person who posted it. Is the original poster someone with an engaged audience or whose content receives consistent likes and shares? Instagram also uses this information. I think that's also really
Mhm.
interesting. So that's almost saying too, like why consistency is so important,
Mhm.
because we kind of need to gain that traction of, is this person getting regular likes and shares, views, or whatever?
I was thinking about something when you were talking about all of this. You know how when we're trying to find trending audios or tracks to create our social media content and we save it, we save the track.
Mhm.
I noticed, and I guess I never put two and two together, when I save a track and then I go start to watch reels, and I think this is why I'm not like a huge consumer of reels and why I like TikTok consumption a little bit better. I then start to get every other person who uses that same track, and I'm like,
Even if it's not relevant information?
exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of frustrating as a consumer, but understanding that like that's why some of those trending audios are picked up and you get discovered by using some of those. Interesting.
Ah, that is super interesting.
Mhm. The next area that we want to talk about on the algorithm is the Explorer page. I think a lot of people don't use this probably as much in Instagram as maybe some of the other applications. I know it was used more frequently before, but this is an area. So in the app, when you go in there, there's that little magnifying glass that you can go in, and people think of that as the search page. So that page is actually called the Explorer page. But in this area, you're going to see posts and videos that are ranked by, so your audience is going to see based on like what people are most interested in, as well as what they save, they like, the type of stuff they're posting. One thing I want to talk about, so when you go into your search, you'll notice at the top, if you don't use the search or the Explorer page often, you'll notice at the top it'll have like little topics. And I mean, I don't know if it's at the top for iPhone, but in an Android, it's at the top. And for me, the ones that I'm seeing, it's not stuff I typically engage with. So those usually are trending topics. So if there's something in there that can relate to your business or your niche, it might be a good idea to use those.
This will tell you that I'm also more of a TikTok user in this. I do watch Reels. I've
Yeah.
actually just recently been getting noticed I'm starting to get hooked on Facebook Reels. That's a whole nother story because I
Yeah.
know you guys have heard me talk about in previous episodes how like, meh, Facebook Reels.
Yeah.
But I've never looked at this before.
Yeah.
Like,
Most people don't. This is a good research tool as
yeah.
a social media marketer. What do you see on the top?
Okay, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, It's hilarious, but also scary because 2 of the things are things that I've done recently,
Okay.
pedicure and nail design, but that I never search on Instagram, so clearly my phone is listening to me, like we
Yeah.
always know it is.
Right.
But it has pedicure, pottery, nail design, home decor, pantry organization. So some of these I have looked at. These are just like the little search boxes at the top, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking
Yeah.
about?
Yep.
Healthy recipes, love poems, oats breakfast, space painting, and bread baking. Now I have
Yeah.
never looked at bread baking, space painting, oat
Uh-uh.
breakfast.
But you know what?
I
This is
love
probably
it.
gonna blow a lot of people's mind. People around you or your followers, so it takes into consideration both of those things.
Whoa.
People
Weird.
around you or your followers do engage with that content.
They're bread baking?
Yeah.
My followers are space painting and eating
Or
oats for
living around
breakfast.
you, like people who
Yeah.
live around you.
Oh, that's crazy.
Isn't it? Yeah, so,
Yeah,
like,
you
mine is
have now
makeup
blown
tutorials.
my mind twice in
Yeah.
this episode.
Makeup tutorials, interior design. So that piece right there is a good, like, research tool for you,
Mhm.
on how you wanna be able to, like, get discovered on social media or Instagram. But you'll notice that in the rest of it, a lot of it might be stuff that you typically engage with. Before you scroll, I want you to pay attention to what is taking up most of your page. Now, Justine, when you go from left to right, I don't care about the content, but are you seeing
Mhm.
static posts, reels, or carousels?
Okay, so this is I wish I could I wonder if I could, like, one day maybe we'll post this. I don't know if you can
Yeah.
see, but it's mostly puppies,
Aw.
ADHD, and then some caption writing tips, but it's 2 videos and the rest is all static posts.
Okay. Are they
I have a
carousels?
um,
You can tell they're carousels because they have the little square on the top
most of them
right
are
corner.
carousels. There's a
Yeah.
or no, I'm sorry, there's 3 reels,
Uh-huh.
2 long ones, 1 square, and then almost all carousels and 2 static.
Okay. That tells you what Instagram's pushing, the type of
Mm,
content. They have
wow.
recently made a decision to push a lot more carousels because
I
that's
remember that.
old school Instagram. They wanna go back to what they're known for.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they know video is king or queen or video is royalty. And so you'll start to notice that, like, a little bit extra stuff that you can use for your Explorer page or yeah, the Explore page. Interesting and fascinating, but what they're looking at, how they present a lot of that stuff is obviously information about the post, the popularity of a post, using signals like people in your area, like this is why you want to use location tags, how they're liking and commenting, sharing and saving. Because remember, explore is not always people that follow you. It's people who engage with content that is like content you typically post. So it's going to look at all of those things. But if you have a history of interacting with somebody, but they don't follow you, your stuff will probably show up in here as well. Most of the content on the Explore page is going to be new to you accounts. But again, if you are boosting an account or a post, so if you paid to boost, even if they are your follower, they'll probably show up in there as well. And then again, it's looking at that activity. As a user, how is that user liking, commenting, saving, sharing stuff that they've looked at on Explore page or even something else? But what's important is this Explore page most of the time are people that don't follow you, but they follow content like what you create, or they are your neighbors, like people in your geographic area. So when you're thinking 5 Mile Famous and wanting to create content, like you might want to do something about how bread making makes the house smell good because people in your
Seriously.
area like bread making.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is
it's
so
crazy when
crazy.
you like dig into the whole like
It's
data
crazy and
science behind
also
it.
super cool, and also I feel like it really stretches our mind when we're thinking about real estate because I think a lot of times when we think about, "Oh, I need to just post about real estate, just post about real estate, just post about real estate," that's giving us permission to get more personal and post
Mhm.
some personal reels or fun reels or like you said, associating something like bread baking or something else like that into your real estate, it's kind of giving us permission to, I feel like, be ourselves and just kind of
Mhm.
stretch what we really need to be putting on
Mhm.
our pages. So that's really cool.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
It is.
Fascinating stuff.
A few more tips that we have for you. Promote content that inspires conversations. So do not just self promote. And I know we've talked about this before. You need to engage with your audience and ask questions. So lead with value, not self promotion, and then engage and ask questions. Also, original content is going to rank higher than reposted or reshared content. Create in app as much as possible because we all know that the algorithm does love that. Instagram is also pushing content more without the lip syncing audio. So think Glenda Baker style. And Estrella, this is what I'm going to move to for my
Mhm.
it's my new, I guess, marketing
Mhm.
plan or whatever. This is the style of video that I'm moving more towards. I'm still going to do fun ones just because
Yeah.
I love to, but for my real estate information, it's no background music, me talking and
Yeah.
just giving tips.
What's cool about that style, it's much easier to bulk, right? Because you're not
Mhm.
chasing a audio trend, right? You're
Yep.
not chasing that track. So if you were to create this type of content based on your content pillars, you can batch create a bunch of videos, and that's easier to send to an external editor to do all of the editing for you. And then you have all of your content set up for the next month or whatever that might be. And it's easier also to share on multiple platforms by doing it that way. I think that a lot of or Instagram Meta in particular, they are advancing their machine learning or AI algorithms to recognize tonality, like how our face makes certain reactions to things when we speak, hand movements, all of those types of things, and the words that we're saying. So you don't need to use all of those other gimmicks to be seen. Another
Yeah.
thing you can do with this is the green screen. Find an article. So if you're taking that and you're using the relevancy piece of all of those topics, what's popular in the news, your local newspaper or news channel is talking about something that you think that your audience will care about, pop a screenshot of that behind you as you talk about it. So it has the headline constantly showing, and I think that's really another good way to kind of follow this Glenda Baker style that isn't always just like general tips, but you can all like newsworthy information as well.
Mhm. Love all of this new stuff. Love all this algorithm discovery that we did today.
Mm-hmm.
Your action items for the week, your little one, super easy and must do action item is to engage with your peeps. That is going to help the algorithm figure out that you need to show your stuff to the people you're
Mm-hmm.
engaging with.
Yes. And your bigger action item for the week is to create a reel Glenda Baker style,
Oh, yeah.
which is so easy once you just get, I think it's a lot of,
It's
uh,
easier. There's no lip syncing.
no,
It's just
and you could be
information.
yourself.
It really is easier. I did, like I said, I just did my first one the other day. I haven't done a reel in forever. And what I do is I watch other real estate agents' reels. I
Mm-hmm.
save them and then I completely make them my own. So another agent made a reel about 5 tips for selling
Mm-hmm.
your house.
Mm-hmm.
I took that and made 5 different reels.
Mm-hmm.
So I did one reel for each tip, and it's so easy for me to just throw off 5 bullet points,
Yeah.
and I've got 5 things. I didn't have to lip sync. I didn't have to think about a stupid song. It
Mhm.
was so much easier than some of that stuff that we've been doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So it's big, but it's not too big action.
No, it isn't. I think it's big mentally because
Yes,
it does you're stepping away, you're being more authentic, and by being more authentic, it puts somebody in a more vulnerable space.
that's true.
Mhm. This was really good, like super nerdy. I love all the nerdy stuff, but I think
Me
if
too.
you yeah, I think if you all follow these things, and most of this doesn't change a whole lot, to be completely honest. And if you follow kind of what we talked about on the explore page, that's a good way to see how the algorithm is changing, and just follow that. But overall, this was amazing. And I hope you found value in all of the information that we shared. And may your posts have a journey of a lifetime.
See you at the next destination.
Bye.